Here lies Fix My Carcast, hosted by Bear Claw Billy. This is episode 41. We've got comedian and musician Keith Hebert joining the procession later. But first, housekeeping. This is the show where you pick what I say and how I say it. Pick a topic or prompt by donating to the GoFundMe, and vote on the gimmick by joining my Patreon for just $1 a month. Join at the $5 or higher level and also get bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes footage. Links are in the description. Also down there, merch. Get some merch, baby! No new donors this week. Again. All right. The total raised for paying off my car repair debt is still $1,116. Also, when we get to $2,000, we unlock an automatic show gimmick, which is I will watch all the Fast and Furious movies back to back and then record my podcast at the end. Fun fact, did you know that this whole podcast disappears when we hit $3,000? Shove it off this mortal coil. No new patrons, and honestly, what the fuck, everybody? Give me 4 quarters once a month. Come on, tell a friend. Clean out the couch. Support this show if you like, and if you don't like it, good. Vote for the worst gimmicks. Love me or hate me with money, as long as you're doing it with money. Time for our new segment, Topic Suggestion. Some donors have told me they struggle to think of a topic for me to cover on the show, so each episode I will give a topic suggestion. These are topics I think I could easily talk about for a whole episode, though admittedly I think the show is more fun when it's something I'm completely clueless about. So, something I could talk about is your incredible goods and services. It's kind of wild how accepting we are of advertisements in our podcast, but imagine if an entire episode was an ad. Whatever the hell you make or do, throw like $20 in the pot and I will say nice things about it for the whole episode. Can you think of more bang for your buck in the world of advertising? Just don't ask how many regular listeners I have. Loud cough, checking in on the best city in the world, based on which city listened to the last episode the most. And our big winner is Freeport, Maine. Congratulations, Freeport. Let it be known that your Greek town, techno music, and RoboCop statue are the best in the world for 7 days. Last episode, I talked about nostalgia while playing the piano very poorly. You can see my fingers tripping all over the keys for the entire episode over on Patreon. And while you're there, check out a bonus episode featuring a guided meditation involving meat. A meditation, if you won't. Go in peace. Okay, let's talk next week's gimmick poll. These are your spooky choices for next week's episode gimmick. They are: wear a lab coat and goggles, do a Dracula impression, incorporate 10 random lines from Stephen King's It, and our returning option just re-released from the Billy Vault, cook dinner, which is currently winning. The only non-spooky option is in the lead. I will try to make it a spooky dinner if it wins. Be sure to vote over on Patreon. The poll closes Thursday, October 20th at noon Eastern America time. All right, time for today's gimmick. Our big winner is record it in a graveyard. The other options: do a Freddy Krueger impression, incorporate 10 Edgar Allan Poe lines, and returning option that got 0 votes this go around, doodle the whole time. I'll go back in the Billy Vault for 6 weeks. Of course, gimmicks don't start until housekeeping is out of the way, just in case any of them prevent me from sharing vital information. But now, we are entering the graveyard zone. From this point on, gimmicks are active and everything is improvised. Today's prompt comes from our executive producer, Anonymous4, and I've been asked to rank my favorite epitaphs. Welcome to the Epitaph Thunderdome. Now, I was planning to rig up my camera and then walk it into the graveyard as we entered the gimmick zone, but it is midnight in the graveyard. So it's way too dark for me to see. I am using my iPad for light, and I'm actually going to take it out of the shot now because I want you to get a chance to see that this is an authentic graveyard, even though it's too dark to really see. Maybe at the end I will try to get some bonus footage of the graves, but I am in fact standing in a graveyard. This is the Permaverdant Cemetery in Columbus, Ohio, Maine. And let us get to the topic. I really want you to be able to tell that this is a real graveyard, but it's just impossible to get enough light in here at midnight. But I really am here. And by the way, I don't have a mic. I had a lot of spooky season stuff going on this weekend, and I gathered everything except the mic. So throwback to the good old days. The audio sounds like when it did when I was walking to work. But for you people who paid to actually see the episode, you can see me standing here in a graveyard. Maybe if I take some steps back. Oh, but then I get too quiet. See, the logistics of recording in a graveyard are kind of tough. I do also want everyone to know it freshly rained, so everything around me sounds like footsteps. So I'm genuinely terrified right now of either a real mortal walking up on me or a soul just jumping out of the shadows and biting me. Let's not think about spooky things, though. Let's get to today's topic. So, epitaphs. I will be comparing them. I will be pitting them against each other, and we will choose a winner. But I want you to know that Anonymous 4, when requesting this topic, originally wanted me to read a poem about walking through a graveyard, a churchyard specifically. I looked into the logistics of that, and you can't really read a full poem on air unless you have the express written consent of the author. However, you can read an excerpt. So, the poem that I was asked to read is by Ethan Coen of the Coen brothers, not Ethan Coen, who I think helped write the Garfield movie. And this is from the book, The Drunken Driver Has the Right of Way. The poem is called Churchyard, and it's quite a good poem. I recommend reading this book, at the very least this poem. I like this poem a lot. And it seems to be a collection of witty epitaphs on tombstones. So I will read an excerpt from this. There are a couple parts that I really like. This one, I like this a lot. Again, this is from Churchyard by Ethan Coen from the book The Drunken Driver Has the Right of Way. Went caroling without a hat, gave cheer, caught cold, and that was that. The rest of the poem, very excellent, highly recommend, go check it out. So, here's what we're going to do here today. I'm going to read off over 50 epitaphs. I went on a couple of websites, Love to Know, Merkel Monuments, just looking for what are some of the most interesting epitaphs. Most of these are famous people. Some of them not really known for anything other than having a cool epitaph. And then what I did was, I was going to read through them in the order that I found them. But then I was like, that's not fun. They're grouped by, like, profession and notoriety and things like that. And then I thought, okay, I'll write them up in the order that I like them. But then I felt like that doesn't really seem to fit for this show either. Where's the improv in that? So I put each epitaph in a randomizer. So now I will be reading them in a random order. So this is the order that they came in at. And then what I'm going to do is when I like one, I'm going to go, ooh, that's real good. I'm going to bump it up to the top. And then at the end, I'll try to have like a top 10 because I don't think I can rank all 50. Also, to make it more fun, I'm not going to tell you whose epitaph it is because some of them will surprise you. Are you ready for this? Everybody ready? Dead people? Teenagers having sex? Okay, here we go. Here's our first epitaph. And it gives away who it is, but the body of B. Franklin, printer, like the cover of an old book, its contents torn out, and stripped of its lettering and gilding, lies here, food for worms. But the work shall not be wholly lost, for it will, as he believed, appear once more in a new and more perfect edition, corrected and amended by the author. Right off the bat, I gotta take points for too long, man. Like, okay, so this is a little off topic, but like when I wrote my senior yearbook quote, I thought it was so funny, but then I realized it was like one inside joke for like 50 people. And like Shakespeare said, brevity is wit, or maybe The Simpsons said that. So I do like the comparison of himself to a book. The random food for worms, I think, is pretty great. I'm not gonna lie, I tend to skew more towards the funny epitaphs. So Benjamin Franklin coming in okay, but too wordy, man. Sorry, gotta revise. Here's the next one. Damn, it's dark down here. That is Fran Thatcher, buried in Prairie Mound Cemetery, Dane County, Wisconsin. As far as I know, nothing notorious, no claim to fame, just has a real great epitaph. Damn, it's dark down here. That so far is number one for me in the order that we're going in here. Coretta Scott King, and now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love, 1 Corinthians 13:13. you know, Bible quotes. I mean, they're a classic for epitaphs. And you know, that quote is just so famous. I think my mom had it on a mug when I was a kid. Not on her, like tattooed on her face, but just like a coffee mug. Pretty good. That's a pretty good one. That is one of my more favorite Bible quotes. Also bonus points for 13:13. That's a little spooky. Still gonna have to give it to Damn It's Dark Down Here though. So that's still currently in the lead. So I hope I'm doing these in the right order. I keep trying to not give away who said them, but we have so many more to get through. I had a lover's quarrel with the world. That was New Hampshire's own Robert Frost. I kind of like that one. I mean, I'm always a fan of like fitting as much philosophy into as few words as possible, and a lover's quarrel with the world. Like, I like that it acknowledges love of the world, but also struggle with the world, which is something that we all go through. That one is pretty good. Again, I like the funny ones. Damn It's Dark Down Here, still swinging strong. I'm a writer, but then nobody's perfect. Depending on what kind of cinephile you are, you might know who that is just from it. That is Billy Wilder, famed screenwriter. Wrote Some Like It Hot, among many, many, many other movies. The Apartment, and that's all I know off the top of my head, which is probably a shame because he's a very respected writer and filmmaker. I love that. You know, got to quote your own work on your way out. Still isn't beating Damn It's Dark Down Here, though. Okay. One of the greatest entertainers the world has ever known, Hollywood will always be his home. Little egotistical, not a fan of that. Hollywood will always be his home. I do like that. I sort of like the acknowledgement of like, hey, this is my permanent residence now. I like that. That's a little tongue-in-cheek. Still, it's dark down here. All right, this one is really great. I know in my heart that man is good, that what is right will always eventually triumph, and there is purpose and worth to each and every life. That was Ronald Reagan. That was the one that gave me the idea to read the epitaph and then tell you who it is. Because that one was really nice. I would say, if we're not doing the funny ones and just the serious ones, that might be one of my favorites so far. But it's Ronald fucking Reagan. Check the scoreboard. He didn't believe that in his heart. She did it the hard way. Betty Davis. Pretty good. I didn't want my voice to give this one away, but here we go. The patriot of incorruptible integrity, the soldier of approved valor, the statesman of consummate wisdom, whose talents and virtues will be admired long after this marble has moldered into dust. Alexander Hamilton, which people know from that thing that, what's his face wrote? Moana. Yeah, that one's pretty good. There's kind of a pattern here. A lot of them talk about like decay and dust. And I like that idea of like talents and virtues will be admired long after this marble has moldered into dust. That's a pretty good one if you want to go for the sentimental ones. Let Her Rip. Leslie Nielsen. Yeah. I was disappointed. I thought that Leslie Nielsen would have a funnier epitaph. Yeah. When I read this, I thought, you know, I've seen a lot of special features and interviews involving Leslie Nielsen. Kind of a fan. And, the man loved a good fart joke. So part of me thinks this might be a fart joke in disguise, but I don't want to overthink it. Let her rip. Don't try. This is not Frank Oz's epitaph because he's still alive. And if you don't know who that is, it's not Yoda's epitaph. It is Charles Bukowski, who I've never cared about ever. And don't try. Am I missing something here? Is he just saying don't ever strive for anything? I feel like the people who really enjoy his poetry would love the motto, don't try. But let's move on to someone else I don't like. He's fine, whatever. I'm not going to try to read it. It's in another language, but it is Greek that translates to true to his own spirit. And I think that's a sweet, simple message. And that was Jim Morrison, which, to be completely honest, I like the music of the Doors, but every time I read about Jim Morrison, I'm like, Jim as a person, keyboard solos, though, great. Very partial to this one. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past, which is a quote from The Great Gatsby, and that is on the tombstone of F. Scott Fitzgerald, and also Zelda Fitzgerald, I believe. I think it's a double plot. I like that one. I'm a sucker for anything about the passage of time. I'm a big temporal nerd, and so I really dig that one. Like, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. That's just great. That's just great. I like that a lot. Still, It's Dark Down Here is the one to beat. The greatest honor history can bestow is the title of Peacemaker. And that was Richard Nixon. That's right. We got another president on this list that I'm like, really? Those good words are on the tombstone of that asshole? All right. And alien tears will fill for him pity's long broken urn, for his mourners will be outcast men, and outcasts always mourn. And that was Oscar Wilde. I like that one a lot. I think out of the serious ones, that one's pretty good. And damn, It's Dark Down Here. Still reigning supreme for the funny ones. All right. Moving on. Oh, I've got so many more of these. I got to pick up the pace. Okay. I just lost my place. Okay, let's start rocking through these. I'm not going to do the rankings for a bit. Just if one really hits me, I'll tell you if it beats Damn, It's Dark Down Here. Okay. He never killed a man that did not need killing. Robert Clay Allison, which most of these I don't have backstory for, but he was a notorious gunslinger in the Wild West. I mean, that was pretty badass. I mean, if badass is your thing, and for me, sometimes it's not always, but, you know, he never killed a man that did not need killing. All right. I hold that a man should strive to the uttermost for his life's set prize. Again, some of these are about power and winning, and I rocked life and I grabbed it by the nipples and I twisted until I got what I deserved. So if you're into that sort of epitaph, there you go. Well, this one's going to give it away. Here lies Ezekiel Akel, age 102, the good die young. That's witty. I like that a lot. That's someone buried in East Dalhousie Cemetery, Nova Scotia, and just really great epitaph. The best is yet to come. Frank Sinatra. I believe I'm ripping off a Dennis Miller observation with this, but Frank Sinatra is America. Really great in a lot of ways, really shitty in a lot of ways. But, you know, I like that one. I mean, it is sort of that, you know, what is in the great beyond after this, and short, sweet, the best is yet to come. This next one, this is a contender. This is a top contender. There Goes the Neighborhood. Rodney Dangerfield. Pretty badass. I like that one a lot. I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna give that a solid A-, but I feel like Rodney Dangerfield is so iconic. There could be a little funnier, like an A-. Like, I don't want to nitpick. It's great. There Goes the Neighborhood. Mwah. Like, just amazing. Rodney, you were amazing. I think There Goes the Neighborhood might beat Damn, It's Dark Down Here, but like, it really comes down to if I was wandering through a cemetery, and I am in one right now, and I saw the epitaph Damn, It's Dark Down Here versus There Goes the Neighborhood, I would laugh at Damn, It's Dark Down Here more. But when I saw Rodney Dangerfield's name on there, I would go, perfect. So Damn, It's Dark Down There. Rando is beating Rodney Dangerfield and Leslie Nielsen. Goodnight Sweet Prince, that's John Barrymore, not bad. Nothing of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. This is a quote from The Tempest by Shakespeare, and that is on the grave of Percy Bysshe Shelley. I probably said that wrong. Bish. Listen here, Bish. That's a good one. I like that quite a bit. You know, not gone, just changed. I like when they get mystical with it. This one is written in Irish that I'm not going to butcher, but it translates to "I told you I was ill," and that is Spike Milligan, comedian. If I saw that and spoke Irish, it just says Irish, so yeah, spoke Irish, that one would get me. That's a good laugh. I feel like, damn, it's dark down here. Really good one, though. This one needs context, but it is simply game over. This is on the tombstone of Michael Leroy Pac-Man Luther, who was buried in Thetford Township Cemetery, Clio, Michigan. And what's great about it is the actual headstone was shaped like a Pac-Man cabinet. He was just obsessed with Pac-Man, and that's dope. Like, I feel like Game Over by itself doesn't quite punch, but like when you see it written on an actual Pac-Man cabinet in the middle of a cemetery, that boosts it. Someone else has "I told you I was sick." This is William H. Hahn. I guess for that one, it's "Who got to it first?" Here lies the body of Jonathan Blake, stepped on the gas instead of the brake. That's Jonathan Blake. No one of note, just has a cool epitaph. Oh, here we go. Grace, dignity, and elegance personified. Joe DiMaggio. Would you guess that? Oh, do you see the... Sorry, you can see the vapor of my breath. If you've dropped the $5 to watch this on Patreon instead of listening to the... Now I'm feeling spooky. I'm going to read faster. All right, where'd we leave off? Yeah, Joe DiMaggio has this beautiful one that just is not what I think of when I think Joe DiMaggio, and I never think Joe DiMaggio. I'm ready to meet my maker. Whether my maker is prepared for the great ordeal of meeting me is another matter. Winston Churchill, you saucy bitch. Again, one of those egotistical ones. I don't love the egotistical ones. I like "There Goes the Neighborhood." But, you know, that's a fun one if you know, are that big of a narcissist. I love this one. This might boost up to the top of the serious ones. Because to me, this one is like in the same camp as Ego, but it's more in the human spirit of like, where are we going? Where are we progressing? I love this one. I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I will spark the brain that will change the world. That was Tupac Shakur. And I'm between that and Damn It's Dark Down Here. I really, really like that one. Like, I feel like that is something that if I saw it on a tombstone, I would be like, oh, that makes me think about my place in the world. And like, you know, I may not change the world, but I may inspire people to change the world. That gives me warm, tingly, good feelings. You gave yourself to each of us in some manner. You were wrapped in thoughtfulness and tied with love. May this flame reflect our never-ending respect and love for you. May it serve as a constant reminder to each of us of your eternal presence. That was Elvis Presley. Long, wordy, but also a much visited gravestone. So you might want something, you know, that makes people feel like it was worth the trip there. So that's pretty good for Elvis. There's a trivia fact that I meant to mention at the top of the show, and I forgot. So I'm going to call this a quick little act break here, because there is one epitaph that I hear get cited a lot, but it is not true. For most of these, I tried to find a photo of the tombstone if I could, just to confirm it, but there were a lot of them. Some of them I couldn't find, but I know this one is fake. And I know that my relatives have spread this around and it's not true. So I'm going to give you a fake one, and that is DeForest Kelley. If that name does not immediately spring to mind, he was Dr. McCoy on the original Star Trek. And he said in interviews what he was afraid would be on his tombstone, and sometimes that gets mangled into an urban legend that that's actually on his tombstone. And if you haven't guessed it by now, it is, "He's dead, Jim." Something he said on the show, I think 20 times, you know, basically his catchphrase, and he was so tired of saying it, and in many interviews he said, "They're gonna put that on my damn tombstone." But in fact, he is buried in a plot with his wife, and it simply has their names and dates of birth. and death on them. It's quite classy. Also, while I was looking that up, Leonard Nimoy's has a Vulcan salute. True to found footage Blair Witch form, you can see a gigantic booger up my nose if you've paid the $5 to see this. You listeners will just have to imagine what that looks like, or maybe this will inspire you to pay $5. Excuse me while I leave the screen, hopefully giving you a look at the graveyard a little better, and take care of this booger. Did you like that dead air? Okay, got it. Wonder how long that's been there. Let's move on, shall we? Cast a cold eye on life, on death. Horsemen pass by. William Butler Yeats. I'm gonna be honest, don't get it. Maybe I'm not poetic enough to get that one. Horsemen pass by. Cast a cold eye on life, on death. Sounds like he's saying, be a cynic, get out of here. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. You've come home. Lucille Ball. At first, I overthought it, and then I was like, oh, Lucy, I'm home. Okay, that's nice. I feel like Lucille Ball was a little cooler than that, but that's pretty good. Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones. That's William Shakespeare. I got a little chill reading that in a cemetery, I'm not gonna lie. William Shakespeare might win for spooky. It's got it all. It's got, you know, talking about dust and stones and curses, and that's pretty good. Happy spooky season. Speaking of dust, excuse my dust. Dorothy Parker. Let's see. I was somebody who is no business of yours. That is an anonymous tombstone in Stowe, Vermont. All right, next one. Tomorrow is the most important thing in life. Comes into us at midnight very clean. It hopes we've learned something from yesterday. John Wayne. I like that one. It's got the time element, past, present, and future. But you know, it's John Wayne. Not a huge fan. All right, I may be gone, but rock and roll lives on. John Belushi. Again, not a huge fan of the man, and also rock and roll, really? I don't think of rock and roll when I think of John Belushi. But you know, whatever. He was a blues brother, I guess. I think the sun is coming up? It's almost 1 in the morning, but maybe the camera's just adjusted to things, but I know the cemetery really only looks like trees. I think that's a tall, what do you call that, an obelisk? I'll try to get some swoopy shots so you can see at the end. Okay, let's rock through this because we don't got a lot of time. O God of dust and rainbows, help us see that without dust, the rainbow would not be. I like it. It's positive, but also melancholy. It's kind of timey. It's kind of magical. Yeah, take the good, you take the bad. Langston Hughes. That one's pretty good. That might go up the ranks for my favorite serious one. This one gets me every time. I had to reread this one a lot. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up. 3.141592653589793238327950288. And that is Ludolf van Seulen, who discovered the first 35 digits of pi, or memorized it to 35 digits, something like that. I don't know, but he had those 35 digits put on his tombstone. Pretty neat. Okay, picking up the pace here. Psalm 19:14, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Johnny Cash. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. Martin Luther King Jr. That one hits you right in the heart. That's a good one. I mean, it's, you know, something he said in life and something immortalized on his tombstone. Simple, to the point. Like it a lot. That's pretty good for one of the serious ones. Murdered by a traitor and coward whose name is not worthy to appear here. Jesse James. And I will not name the coward on this show. Reader, I am to let thee know, Don's body only lies below. For could the grave his soul comprise, earth would be richer than the skies. That's John Donne. I don't know who that is. I will admit, the next one, I called as being my favorite right away. But it may have been ousted. That's all, folks. That is Mel Blanc, the voice of Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny, and that's got to be my favorite for the funny one. The one that came up next, perfectly randomized, I will not be back. I will not be right back after this message, and that's Merv Griffin. Pretty good. I like that one a lot. Doesn't beat That's All, folks. Okay, I gotta go now. That's Dee Dee Ramone. Go Away, I'm Asleep, Joan Hackett. This grave contains all that was mortal of a young English poet who, on his deathbed, in the bitterness of his heart at the malicious power of his enemies, desired these words to be engraven on his tombstone. Here lies one whose name was writ in water. Very wordy, very poetic. Doesn't jive with me much. John Keats. All right, we got 6 more of these, and then I gotta go. He never voted for Republicans and had little to do with them. That's just nice. Be bitter in death. That is Bill Kugel in the Texas House of Representatives. When I was in the military, they gave me a medal for killing 2 men and a discharge for loving one. That is Leonard Matlovich, the first openly gay member of the U.S. military. Historically, that one really hits you in the heart. He seized life with joy. He gave to life generously. He leaves a legacy of love and laughter. That was superstar Michael Landon from Highway to Heaven, is mainly what I know him from, but he was also on Bonanza and something else. All right. Well, this one kind of gives it away. Here lies Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence and of the statutes establishing religious toleration in the Commonwealth of Virginia. A little too heavy on the facts. That was Thomas Jefferson, by the way. We have 2 left, and the second from the bottom is probably my absolute favorite that I did not know before I started this project. Keeping with the brevity is the soul of wit thing here, it is 1 word, and it is 2 letters. If you don't know this one, prepare to have your mind rocked. In. Now, maybe the joke hasn't landed yet, but that is Jack Lemmon's epitaph. And if you can look up a photo, definitely do, because the font looks like the opening credits of a movie. The entire gravestone reads simply, Jack Lemmon in, and then you mentally fill in the ground. That hits so many of my criteria. It celebrates what he did in life. It celebrates where he is now in death. It's funny, but like also poignant. That's the one to beat. And then the last one on the random list is To Yesterday's Companionship and Tomorrow's Reunion. And that is Rita Hayworth. So that's the full list of epitaphs. And I gotta declare the winner of Epitaph Thunderdome, Jack Lemmon in. So thanks for joining me for this wild experiment. Again, you can see the video on Patreon. But to borrow from one of the epitaphs, as always, that's all, folks.